and let us all do we can to build a better future.
All right. In the title of our show, we are talking about the SVB collapse. Now, before we bring that up, because that took place over the weekend, another bank, and this article came out today, and it has to deal with another bank that is facing a banking turmoil called Signature Bank. So this is an article from Reuters, and this just happened today. This article came out. So state regulators closed New York-based Signature Bank on Sunday, the third largest failure in U.S. banking history, 2 days after authorities shuttered Silicon Valley Bank, SVB, in a collapse that stranded billions in deposits. The Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, the FDIC, took control of Signature, which had $110.36 billion in assets and $88.59 billion in deposits at the end of last year, according to New York State Departments of Financial Services. Say it with me, folks. Here we go again. And we talked about this on Hard Lens Media. Everyone in independent media talked about this. We're heading towards a financial collapse. Now, every time we brought it up, here's the thing. And this is what I find so hilarious about our critics who defend the Democrats and Republican lawmakers that are all so quick to go to bat for the establishment. Oh, they have it all figured out. Oh, it wasn't a collapse. What they're doing is kicking the can down the road, folks. They're kicking the can down the road and ignoring the major problem. The 2008 economic crisis, the individuals who caused it are still running around. And the very same people and institutions that are running our economy are leading us down the same epic disaster. And the problem is that if we thought 2008 was bad, this economic collapse of the banks is going to be far worse. Now, they're hemorrhaging. They're using just simple Band-Aid on an open, gaping wound. But look me in the eye and tell me we're not heading towards an economic disaster. We have a rise in inflation. Buying a gallon of milk is costing an arm and a leg. Buying a carton of eggs is an arm and a leg. Buying gas for your car is costing an arm and a leg. It's madness through and through. Now, again, the article continues on. All the deposits of Signature Bank and Silicon Valley Bank will be made whole, and no losses will be borne by the taxpayer, the U.S. Treasury Department and other bank regulators said in a joint statement. Employees appeared to gather at the company's Manhattan headquarters for meetings on Sunday, ordering catering from, Carmine's, an Italian restaurant, and Starbucks coffee, according to Reuters' report on the scene. People trickled out of the building after news of the closure was announced. How can you walk out of that building and actually keep what you ate in your stomach? I would be vomiting my brains out. Representatives for the lender did not immediately respond to a request for a comment. Oh, gee, I wonder why. Signature's failure followed Silicon Valley Bank's Friday shutdown, the second largest in U.S. history behind Washington Mutual, which collapsed during the 2008 financial crisis. It's not interconnected, folks. Don't worry. Stop panicking. Buy a bagel. Hey, let's have democracy in the chat. Can you afford to buy a bagel with cream cheese? Type 1 if you can. Type 2. What? Bagel and cream cheese? A bagel with cream cheese? What, are you kidding me, kid? What's wrong with you, you brutal monster? Investors were unnerved by the speed at which startup-focused SVB, the 16th largest lender in the United States, was toppled by customer withdrawals. The episode last week erased more than $100 billion in market value from U.S. banks, prompting swift action from government officials over the weekend to try and restore confidence in the financial system. A lot of good people are going to suffer and be in pain. The FDIC established a bridge successor bank on Sunday, which will enable customers to access their funds on Monday. Signature's bank depositors and borrowers will automatically become customers of the bridge bank, the FDIC said. Why do I see this becoming an epic failure? The regulator named former Fifth Third Bancorp chief executive Greg Carmichael as CEO of the bridge bank. Silicon Valley Bank customers will have access to their deposits starting on Monday, U.S. officials said on Sunday. The federal government also announced actions to shore up deposits and try and stem any broader fallout. Here we go again. What is this, like our 20th economic crisis that we're in. Signature was a commercial bank with private client offices in New York, Connecticut, California, Nevada, and North Carolina, and had 9 national business lines, including commercial real estate and digital asset banking. What could go wrong? As of September, almost a quarter of its deposits came from the cryptocurrency sector. But the bank announced in December that it would shrink its crypto-related deposits by $8 billion. Oh, SBX. SBX is somewhere in the corner. Signature Bank announced in February that Chief Executive Officer Joseph DiPaolo would transition into a senior advisor role in 2023 and would be succeeded by the bank's Chief Operating Officer, Eric Howell. DiPaolo has served as president and CEO of Signature's Bank inception in 2001. The bank had a long-standing relationship with former President Donald Trump and his family, providing Trump and his businesses with checking accounts and financing several of the family's ventures. Signature Bank cut ties with Trump in 2021 following oh, again, this is how you know the article's BS. The deadly. oh yeah. We're half the individuals there were let in by the Capitol Police. When you open the doors and they're doing tours of the place, and the quote unquote QAnon shaman is just up there just taking photos and being escorted, but not 1, but 8 cops who could have arrested him at any point in time. Yeah, deadly riots. Okay, we're going to stop reading that because my brain just melted just reading that. But hold on, because corporate media's got to talk about this. But first, let's talk about how the impact of Dodd-Frank led, or at least the rolling back of Dodd-Frank, led to this collapse. So here, let's pull up this video. Shout out to Case Study QB. Please give him a follow. He is wrongly being censored by Twitter, which is madness. Case Study QB has done nothing wrong. Let's play this video.
2018, Dodd-Frank was passed early in the Obama administration after the 2008 financial collapse. In 2018, they came back and revised it a bit. It raised the too big to fail threshold from 50 billion to 250 billion. Essentially, a lot of smaller and up to 250 billion. So you're talking medium-sized banks got exempted from the most stringent regulations. It exempted certain banks from stress tests. Again, the smaller and medium banks, eliminated so-called living wills for some banks, and eased some of the mortgage reporting requirements on these smaller and medium-sized banks. Again, this is a legacy. This is a reboot, if you will, after the 2008 financial crisis. It passed largely with Republican support. Republicans were pushing this, but 67 votes in the Senate, including 17 Democrats. 258 votes in the House, including 33 Democrats. So mostly Republicans, but a sizable number of Democrats. Now, the CEO of Silicon Valley Bank specifically lobbied for these reforms.
I want to acknowledge Edward Heller in the chat. They need to bring back Glass-Steagall and other regulations that stop banks from gambling with our deposits. Huh. I wonder, who was the president that got rid of Glass-Steagall? Oh, heavens mercy. I hope it wasn't a Democrat.
This is Greg Becker. He says that bank, the one that just collapsed, didn't pose a systemic risk, and that imposing the requirements, the Dodd-Frank requirements, it put an outsized burden on us. That was his argument. Now, Barney Frank, remember, liberal congressman from Massachusetts, he was the lead House sponsor of Dodd-Frank. He introduced it with Senator Chris Dodd of Connecticut. He joined the board of Signature Bank. That's the New York bank that New York had to take over the weekend in 2015. In 2018, he said, Barney Frank, who pushed the big Dodd-Frank, said the rollback does not in any way weaken the regulations. When he said that, he was on the board of Signature Bank. And this is
So there you go. Are also fantastic politicians. By the way, just so all of you know, Glass-Steagall, in case you didn't hear my sarcasm, but Glass-Steagall's repealed under a guy named Bill Clinton, who was a Democrat, by the way. Democrat Bill Clinton. Democrat Bill Clinton. But hold on. What does Joe 30330 have to say about the SVB collapse? Yeah, let's hear it from none other than our good friends at Morning Blow. I mean, Morning Joe. Shout out again to Case Study QB. How'd you sit through this, buddy? I don't know.
Biden assuring Americans and businesses that they're going to be able to pay their workers, and assuring Americans they're going to be able to pay their bills. They also talked about the actions that Janet Yellen took this weekend wanted to make sure that all customers would be protected and have access to their money. No losses will be borne out by the taxpayers, the president assured us. Also,
our politicians have assured us of a lot. Hell, I don't want to sound petty here, and maybe this is wrong of me, but this is extremely petty. But I remember when we were promised a $2,000 stimulus check way back in 2020. Now, before the vote blew, no matter who, people start violently typing on their keyboards. I don't want to hear that crap of the 1,400 and the 600 equals 2,000. No. Those are two separate things. See, I'm from Chicago, and yes, the Fox News stereotype is very real. I will take that $1,400 and I'll take that $600. Those are two separate things altogether. But you promised me a whole 2,000 with interest now. Where's the money? They promised us a lot of things. Our politicians promised us that small businesses wouldn't be shut down. Our politicians promised us that our air and water and soil will be safe. Ask the people of East Palestine, Ohio, or Flint, Michigan, how that's working out for them. Or anywhere else in America. Hey, do you have confidence that you, a consumer, an average citizen minding your own damn business, that your finances will be protected, that your family will be safe, that the government's actually going to follow through and protect you? Type 1 if you have the utmost confidence in our oh so wonderful politicians, our honorable politicians. Type 1 if you think, Kit, gosh darn it, they know what they're doing. They've never screwed us over. Type 2, when does the hurting stop?
The managers of the banks that were taken over will all be fired. The president also, his third point was that investors would not be protected. Those who invested in these banks would lose their money. He said that's how capitalism works. He said
capitalism also works by putting things up the wazoo too. So there you go.
No one is above the law. If any laws were broken, those people will be brought to justice. It's also going to be calling for Congress to...
Hold on. We got to hear that again. No one's above the law unless you're rich. Hey, count them. How many people were held accountable for the economic collapse in 2008? All right. 0.
It's also going to be calling for Congress to strengthen rules for banks and made reference to some parts of Dodd-Frank that were, in his words, weakened over the past administration by Donald Trump. Of course, Wall Street Journal editorial page today disputed that fact, said that wasn't the cause of this past weekend. But the president of the United States saying at the end that Americans can rest assured that their money is safe. Let's bring in right now co-anchor.
God, folks, you know that scene whenever you're watching a movie and you see a disaster ready to take place and you're scared for the character. Like, it has to be a good movie, by the way. All right, not this latest crap where it's all CGI, but like a real good movie where, like, oh no, look out, and you're scared and there's nothing you could do. Now we've seen this show, only except this time we're that person with a serial killer or monster or tidal wave or car crash right behind us. And we see it coming, but we can't move out the way. Nothing has fundamentally changed. Listen, just a side note. Gen Z. Look, you're entitled to do whatever you wish, however you feel. But there's one warning that I want to give to you guys. Before anything else, I know a lot of you want to go to college, or maybe some of you are already enrolled in college. What I have to say is get out now, or don't enroll into the American college industrial complex. We're riddled with student debt. The reason why is because if enough of you don't sign up, that system collapses in on itself. Millions of Americans are already suffering with student debt. The current president, Joe Biden, helped sign a law to make credit card corporations what they are, to make student debt a form of unforgivable bankruptcy, which means it will follow you after you die. And there are millions of Americans still paying that interest off. You want to go to school? Save up, go overseas, take your time, go to a trade school, get out to apprenticeship. Hell, go to community college. If you got a full-blown scholarship and you'll walk out of zero debt in American college, go for it. That's one saving grace I could say, because right now, a lot of people are going to get hurt. When I hear talks like this of, oh, our finances will be safe, we've seen this before. There you go. Just have to get off my soapbox now.
CNBC Squawk Box, Andrew Ross Sorkin, and ask you, Andrew, what did you hear there from the president?
Well, I think that he was trying to reassure Americans to keep their money effectively where it is so there's not additional bank runs around the country at small banks. I think one of the things we saw happening over the weekend was the big banks, the JP Morgans and Bank of Americas, were getting phone calls saying, can I open an account immediately? This effort is aimed at that. What we've effectively done, though, is guaranteed deposits across the country. You could say de facto nationalized the banks. That has lots of ramifications. And I should say, while the good news is that hopefully this stems the tide, there's a real question about what the economic cost of this is going to be more broadly. The stock market this morning looks like it's going to open down. Why? In part because these small banks, which historically we didn't think were systemically important, now are, which means that they're going to be regulated. There's going to have higher costs, a higher capital cost. That means that loans to consumers and businesses are going to go up. That's going to cost.
That also means if you're a small business owner, you're screwed. Isn't it interesting? The American dream, being your own boss, is being taken away from us. And now it's all a gig economy. We're working, keep on working and hustling. No time for a break. Vacation, what's that? Parental leave, what's that? Oh, you gave birth to your kid. Get back to work in the factory. Get back in line or get in front of the store and be that Walmart greeter. Hey, grandma, hey, grandpa, get up and start working at Walmart. It's work. Owning a home? Yeah, right. Move into the company town. You'll own nothing and be happy. How's that sound to all of you? Does that sound wonderful? This is where we're being led into, folks.
Cost the economy. So this is not over yet. And there's a big debate as to what it really means for the banking system and also who was the beneficiary. These are not bailouts like 2008, but I'll tell you, the venture capital community in California, they were bailed out big time this weekend.
And they will continue to be bailed out. Why? Because it's one big club and you ain't in it. But here, let's talk to this one guy here. Again, shout out to Case Study QB. I don't know how you sit through this stuff, buddy. If you're not following Case Study QB on Twitter, please do so. He's wrongly being censored. He also has his own YouTube channel and Odyssey page as well. Let's hear what our good friend and friend of the common man, the working man, Kevin O'Leary, how he discusses the SVB collapse. So let's go ahead and play this video for the people. Folks, we're running into a nightmare. It's a disaster for us all.
What are you hoping to hear from President Biden?
Well, I think I know what he's going to say. I don't think he'll say it in the way I'm suggesting, but what effectively happened over the weekend is that
I want to acknowledge someone in the live stream chat. The Houston guy says, gosh darn it, Kit, the government knows what they're doing. You know what? You restored my faith. Hey, everyone, don't worry about it. Our wonderful politicians. Hold on. Wait a minute. Hold on. I got to look you guys straight in the eye. Hold on. This is called acting. To my audience, everything's fine. Don't panic. It's all good. And that's why in 2024, you got to vote Democrat so we could stop Trump. Our politicians will never abandon us or forget their values. We just got to patiently wait. I know you're bleeding out on the floor, but wait, we'll get Medicare for all. I know you don't have a roof over your head, but you got a nice bridge. Well, not a bridge. You got a cardboard box, but whatever you do, stay out of sight of the rich people. Everything will be fine. You'll get it eventually. Oh, struggling with student debt? Listen to me. AOC and Rashida Tlaib just tweeted out, what would student debt forgiveness mean for you? You know what that means, right? They're working on it. Wink. Hey, I think I could be a co-host on Crystal and Kyle. Hey, be honest, audience. Was that not a believable performance? I'm sorry. Back to the video.
that he nationalized the American banking system. It's no longer a risk. It's no longer private in any sense. It is now backstopped by the government, ultimately the taxpayer. So it doesn't matter how bad you are as a bank manager, and a good example is what happened at Silicon Valley Bank. That was a combination of a negligent board of directors and idiot management. That's a very powerful cocktail when put together, and it completely
So in other words, business as usual.
wiped out that bank, and that's what should have happened. And we knew before the weekend started that every account with $250,000 or less was insured, and anything beyond that, which is generally business accounts or sophisticated investors, was not. But that's all changed. Now you have no risk in any bank, anytime, and you as the taxpayer bear that going forward.
When we spoke on Friday, you said, I said, how big a deal is this, Kevin? And we were texting, you said, next week, the real trouble starts when they can't make payroll. Now it looks like they will be making payroll, I would imagine. So what do you think? Do you think that maybe the pressure is off now, that things are going to go back to normal, or is there still more fallout?
No, there's going to be more fallout. All right, let's be very clear here. We're seeing 2008 repeat itself in real time again. Now, again, history doesn't repeat itself, but it sure does rhyme. And I remember early 2008. That's when I got out of the Marine Corps, the quiet rumblings, the uncertainty of the economy. It's real, folks, and it's a nightmare. I also want to acknowledge another live stream comment where Rick Stevens wrote, "You won't have time to protest because you're too busy scrounging for food." And by the way, all those big time activists, all those political groups, those progressive groups, independent groups that rose up to resist Trump. Yeah, they're not going to show up anywhere anytime soon to protest a Democratic administration. I'll be talking about one activist group in particular, but that'll be later on in the show.
Here.
No, they'll never go back to normal. Two things are going to happen. This quick move, this policy decision, was to try and stop a run on small banks, mid-sized banks. I don't think long-term that's going to work, because why would you take even 1% of risk keeping your money, or at least all of it, in a small regional bank? You're going to diversify. And I think that's the first lesson that wasn't being adhered to, is when you have liquid assets, you want to make sure it's diversified. And the rule we've put in place for our portfolio companies is no more than 20% in any one financial institution, because you never know where the black swan is swimming. In other words, every single institution has an idiot manager. Big ones, small ones, that's been proven by
Yourself included, buddy.
By history. You just don't know where they are. And that's the same for every sector of the economy. But the banking system's different. We have 11 sectors in our economy. The banking system, financial services, is one of them. But it services all other 10. So what's really happening when the president steps out in a few moments is he's basically saying, look, I can't take this risk anymore. I'm just going to nationalize the whole thing. And that's the way we should look at banking going forward. Nothing more than highly regulated utilities. And that has profound impacts for you as an investor. If you thought putting your money into bank stocks was a good idea, you should change your mind this morning forever. And should you own bank bonds? Never. You were taught that lesson over the weekend. If you owned equity in Silicon Valley Bank, it's worthless. If you own the bonds, it's
Kevin,
worthless.
I think.
Go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt, Kevin. I do want to push back on that, because you've got to differentiate between the small and medium-sized banks that were given more lax requirements in that 2018 legislation, and the big guys. Because the big guys closed up on Friday, and there's a flight to safety to JP Morgan, to Citigroup, et cetera.
Listen, folks, my advice, community banks, credit unions, these large, there's going to be a big collapse, all right? So enough from Kevin O'Leary. So let's really start addressing what's coming down the road. Between last week and Friday, and so that Friday will be marked as March 10th of 2023, and today, Monday, March 13th of 2023. In that time frame, we witnessed two banks basically go under. If you're not frightened or concerned about what's waiting for us down the road, you're braver than me. But this economy is due for a collapse. Listen, our politicians have been doing everything they can to kick the can down the road. But you know that there's large real estate developers, private equity, that are ready to buy up more homes, more real estate, more property, more farmland, so that you, the person, own nothing. The American dream is being taken away from regular people. So the bigger picture is this. The rich are going to be fine. If you're a hedge fund manager, you're going to be okay. If you are a billion-dollar investor, you're going to be fine. If you're part of the club, you're fine. What we're seeing in corporate media is a performance, a show to appease the masses. And unfortunately, a lot of people, they might be seeing it now, but there are plenty of people still blind and committed to the neoliberal soup that they're being fed every single day. Keep your heads on a swivel. We have to look out for each other as a community because, unfortunately, it's not over yet.